So there's something I've been meaning to tell you all. I bought a harp. Yeah, and I know what you're thinking. I have not completely lost it yet, anyway. It's not like one of those huge concert harps, okay? What am I made of money? It's a 26-string lever harp. It's actually the Ravenna 26 by Dusty Strings, and I am so in love with it. It is beautiful. I got it last fall, and it has just been such a ride learning this beautiful instrument. I haven't really shared publicly about it, just because I kind of wanted to keep it to myself. It's been really hard, though, because I've been enjoying myself so much and been really wanting to share this. But I know this is kind of coming out of left field, so let's back up a bit. Hey, if you're new here, I'm Patti. I'm a professional violinist. I was classically trained, and now I mostly work from home as a studio violinist for composers and on my own projects that I produce. So why did I get a harp? It's just kind of like one of those things when someone asks you if you would ever want to learn another instrument, what would you pick? And it makes sense for me to say the cello. That would really help me out the most with my work, and it's kind of the closest to what I already play. But if we're talking just like dream instruments, it was always the harp. The harp is one of those instruments that I've always admired the most and felt it was the most impossible to learn, or even just to afford one. How would I even have the opportunity to learn to play the harp? And to be quite honest, part of me kind of thought it wouldn't be worth it to play the harp unless I could have a full pedal harp, which I realize how stupid that sounds, but back then I just thought that all the music I'm interested in playing is really chromatic, so how could I do it with a lever harp, not to mention without having the full range and the low end. I just didn't really think that I would enjoy having a lever harp, but that kind of changed over time as I did more collaborations with harpists, including way back when I did an EP of music from Dragon Age Inquisition of the Tavern songs with my friend Paula, and she brought her Dusty Strings lever harp, and that was my first opportunity to really see one up close and see how it worked, and that was just such a neat instrument to have for that type of arrangement, and it just got me really thinking of other places I could use something like that. So since then I've been kind of thinking about getting one, and especially since the last album I worked on, because there were just so many moments where it would have been nice to have some live harp, but it wasn't really worth calling up one of my harpist friends to record for me. Like if I want to call up a professional harpist and collaborate on something, I want to make it worth their while. I want it to really feature them and not just be some like little rolled chords or arpeggios in the background. You know, for that I could use a sample, but it just got me thinking that even if I had a small lever harp, I could really add so much color into my arrangements. Yeah, so it's just been this kind of urge to get one that has been building over time, both, you know, initially starting from my desire to play it in general, but also realizing that it could be really practical for me and really worthwhile for my arrangements to learn to play the harp is something that I could include, especially for this album I'm working on right now, where the arrangements are more kind of folksy chamber. Like it's kind of the perfect sound for that. So yeah, I've been saving up for a while and finally decided to take the plunge and go for it. And that was about 6 months ago. So since this has been a unique experience for me, learning an instrument from scratch, I thought it would be fun to document it. So you might be wondering why I'm making such a big deal of learning the harp if I have so many other instruments that I play on my channel. The truth is, I've been playing violin since I was 6 years old. I kind of picked up viola along the way, but those are so similar, I don't really count it. It's not like I had to learn something from scratch. I didn't really take lessons on it. If you see on my channel, I do have a lot of instruments that I randomly play. In fact, I have this video up here that I'll put, which is like an instrument tour where I showed all of the instruments I own. But if you watch that video, you'll see how little I actually play any of those instruments. They're mostly just things that I have. Usually I'll just learn a few notes that I can play to add some color onto an arrangement I'm doing, and that's it. It's not like me actually learning to play the instrument at all. And this is different because the harp is different. Harp is hard. It's not something that I could just like figure out a few notes and play. And I didn't want that anyway, because like I said, I've always wanted to learn. I really wanted to take it seriously and try to set myself up for success. So my plan once I got the harp, well, first of all, I watched a lot of YouTube videos to kind of like see if I could absorb some of the technique of the hand positioning, because I'd heard that that was one of the most difficult things to get right off of the bat, you know, knowing exactly how to place your hands and get a clean sound. So I watched a lot of YouTube videos before the harp came to just kind of try to get an idea of where to start. And then my plan was for the first 30 days to practice every day for about 15 to 20 minutes. I would just set the timer. That was kind of my rule for myself, was that no matter what, I would at least play 15 or 20 minutes a day of focused practice. Many times the timer would go off and I would keep playing because I was just enjoying it. Honestly, that was more than enough to make sure that I didn't hurt myself in the beginning. I went through a few days where I did have a lot of soreness from the calluses that were building up. I was kind of working through all the awkwardness too of what to do with my arms and my back, you know, figuring out what to do with all this tension because, you know, you're learning something new. And honestly, I've kind of kept that up. For the first 30 days, I did practice every day. After that, I got a little bit more relaxed, but I think it really helped to set a foundation and just feel more comfortable with the instrument in general. As a violin teacher, there's something I've always said is that Practicing 20 minutes a day every day is infinitely better than binging like 2 hours on a weekend. And I was happy to discover that I was 100% correct. Like little bits every day really makes such a huge difference, especially when you're starting out. I got to really experience what advice of mine works and what doesn't. So this was really fun to see from the perspective of a beginner and an adult beginner learning on their own, since I didn't really have a regular teacher. So every week I did try to take a video to document my progress. I have not looked at these since then, so I'm going to be reacting to my own terrible harp playing probably. So this first one here I took after 1 day of playing the harp. I look so uncomfortable. Oh, I'm trying to play stuff from the Dragon Age Tavern songs because I thought it would be simple. So here I knew that, you're not supposed to have your hand like this with the harp. Like it's supposed to be bent a little bit more kind of facing the bottom. And so I was really trying that, but I can already see that I was not doing it nearly as well as I thought I was doing. Later on, I kind of learned to get a mirror in there because it can be really hard to see, especially on the harp because you're above it. Ooh. Trying to be all artistic or just not so tight, I guess. Harder than it looks, huh? Oh, it looks like I'm looking into the phone like a mirror. At least that's helpful. It's just arpeggios. How hard could it be? I look so tense. Of course, I'm going to end with a gliss. Oh. Okay, so honestly, for only playing 1 day and not having a lesson yet, it's not terrible. I mean, it's rough to look back on it now, but we're off to a good start, right? A week later, I had a harp lesson with my friend Samantha, who not only is she an amazing harpist, but she's an amazing teacher, and so that was really helpful. I took this video after that lesson, later that day. Let's see if we have any notable improvement. Nice. I'm like really focusing on making sure those fingers release the way they should. Remember to breathe. It's really hard to not get tense, but also not add in a lot of extraneous movements, because I remember that was one thing she pointed out to me, that I was adding extra movements in. I spent many years in violin trying to fix that too. Working on prepping my hand as a whole. Placing the fingers ahead of time. Freya, are you purring right all into this mic? Trying to do world chords was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. Also trying not to collapse my joints there. Yeah. Not to do this or this. This is so painful to watch. All right, so now we're at this, like, I kind of know what I'm supposed to do, but it's going to take a long time for my body to be able to do it. Oh, I was following a YouTube video here by Josh Lane. He has these, like, lessons online, which I found very helpful. I think I'm not even following along with the video at this point. I just have it on the background in case I want to look over for inspiration. Which is helpful, honestly. It's helpful to have a visual guide for me of how it's supposed to look. This is riveting content, I know. My fingers are still curling too much instead of just going in flat. But I definitely look more comfortable. I like this little exercise warm-up. You can see the harp kind of like shaking a little bit. By the way, if there are any real harpists watching this and you want to give me any and all advice or tips, I am listening. The harp, maybe because it's so small, it kind of like moves a little bit. I feel like if it was held more still, it would be a lot easier. Sometimes I would hold it still with the other hand, but that's not always an option. Oh, here's the placing exercise. Again. Seem to be doing much better with it now. Oh, this is much better than the first time I tried this. All right, this is my progress after 1 month of playing every day, 30 days. Not bad. It's actually better for the left hand. Oh, this is when I first started to try to play songs. This one involved levers though, so it was a little tricky. Levers are hard. These were starting to feel a lot more comfortable, so I was really just focusing on trying to get a clean sound, an even sound. Too fast. Oh, this is when I actually made myself a practice corner for the harp, which is where it lives now. I like challenging myself with like little elaborations like that. So practicing these because I figured something like this would be more useful to practice for the left hand. We're getting to the end. This is the first song I was actually working. It's kind of like a technical exercise song. But look at me, 2 hands together. I have one final little ditty that I hope you'll be able to recognize. Figuring this out brought me so much joy. All right. That was much more difficult to watch than I expected. All right, so a few takeaways I just kind of wanted to mention of some things I learned along the way. One of the things I noticed was how many transferable skills I had from playing the violin. It was a lot more than I realized because obviously learning viola or cello from violin is going to have a lot of transferable skills, and knowing music theory and stuff is transferable too. But there was a lot I was able to extrapolate with learning the harp in terms of just my ability to know how to practice well. There's a lot of practice techniques that can just be applied to any instrument, like the importance of playing slowly, using a metronome, practicing with different rhythms, isolating a specific problem in order to correct it quickly. These are all skills that I have. And I kind of think I'm very good at these skills because, let me tell you, I was not one of those naturally gifted violinists. I was naturally gifted at music and general musicianship, but Playing the violin was a struggle for me, and I spent a lot of time figuring out how to break things down in a way that would actually work to solve problems. So I feel like I have a really good toolbox on how to practice, and so much of this stuff I was able to apply to the harp. That was kind of a nice surprise to me to see how much I was able to just figure out on my own based on that experience. And also just in terms of mindset, because a lot of the materials I'm looking up as a beginner are aimed at people who've never played music before, learned an instrument. And there are a lot of things I kind of take for granted that I already know from having been a musician for so many years, especially a performing musician, stuff that comes along with that as far as how to deal with the frustration of practicing, what's realistic to expect as far as getting better. And I'm really happy to say that I'm enjoying this process and not at all frustrated. I won't say I've never been frustrated while practicing, but usually I'm not. I've been very happy with my progress because I can kind of see the progression and I know how to recognize progress. I know, well, I can't do this yet, but I can do it at this speed, which means I just need to keep practicing it this way, with this speed, with different rhythms. And I know I can trust that that is going to work, that it's going to get there, because I know from past experience that that's how to fix it. So yeah, that's just been really nice to kind of have that trust in myself, because I got to tell you, there have been a lot of times in my life where practicing the violin has been insanely frustrating and not enjoyable. But with the harp, I have just really enjoyed it because I don't have this expectation of being good at all. I have no expectation for a time frame for how long it's going to take me. I'm just trying to enjoy playing notes in the moment and just really enjoy the resonance. I really love that about it. Mindfulness is something I've been really focusing on the past 2 years, especially since becoming a new mom and trying to work on not being overwhelmed and anxious all the time. I've developed a lot of mindfulness-related hobbies. I do a lot of embroidery, for example. Embroidery is one of those things where I've noticed that if I'm having anxious, spiraling thoughts, I just sit down to stitch for a while and they completely go away. And that's kind of how I feel with playing the harp as well. There have been times where I'm just really anxious, and so I'll just sit at the harp and play some chords, some arpeggios, just really focus on playing one note after another note and listening to the sound between the notes. And honestly, it's just better than therapy, really. It has been so helpful. It's so mindful and grounding and really puts you right in the present moment. I feel really grateful to have had that for the past 6 months, and it has made a really big difference in my life. Another thing is the importance of practicing only one thing at a time. People tend to focus on trying to do a lot at once. I'm not going to say I'm not guilty of this too, but I understand how it works. If you can't play a full phrase with 2 hands, you can play it with 1 hand. I'm not even really playing things with 2 hands yet, so I'm still just talking about 1 hand, but I'm really understanding how important it is to break things down and focus on retracting my fingers the way they're supposed to go and listening to the resonance when I pluck the string to make sure I'm getting a nice round sound, and also recording myself so that I can make sure that I'm doing what I think I'm doing. One thing I really struggle with is collapsing joints because I am hypermobile. Sometimes it can be hard to tell if that's happening when your fingers are moving fast. So, having a video of that really helps. So yeah, just focusing on one thing at a time. And it's a little different with harp because it's fundamentally a different type of instrument than violin. But like with violin, you can't focus on intonation and tone at the same time. You focus on intonation, you focus on rhythm, you focus on bowing. You pick one and just do that one at a time. It's the same way with harp, just with different things, but that's the most efficient way to do it, because if you try to overload your brain too much, you're just not going to get anything right. And people say that practice makes perfect, but really practice makes permanent, because your brain doesn't know the difference between practicing something right and practicing something wrong. So if you play it wrong enough times, that's what you are practicing. So yeah, you really got to practice it slowly and one thing at a time so that you can practice it perfectly. That's the only way that it's going to get better. Another thing that has been really recurring through this process is the difference between knowing what you're supposed to do versus actually being able to do it. Sometimes you know the correct technique, you know what you're supposed to do, and your body just can't do it yet. You can do it really slowly, you know what it feels like to do it, but the second you start to go faster, it goes out the window. So, I know when I'm doing it wrong. I'll look at the video oh, I keep doing this, I need to keep working on that. But it's not like a teacher has to point it out to me, because I can see that I'm doing it wrong, and I know what it is supposed to be. My hands just have to get used to it, and eventually it will be there. And that's how the majority of practicing feels for me in general. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I just have to keep at it until my body learns it and internalizes it. But with something like harp, which is a completely foreign instrument to me, at the beginning, I didn't even know what I was supposed to be doing. Am I supposed to hold my hand like this? Like this? How is it supposed to look? How is it supposed to feel? Because I would do a couple different ways. And I could do it this way or I could do it this way, but I don't actually know which way is correct. So how am I supposed to practice it? I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and I did have one lesson, which thank God for that, because otherwise I'd just be thinking is this how it's supposed to be? And this is why it's really important to have a teacher when you're just starting out, at least for a few lessons in the beginning, to kind of show you what you need to aim for because you can only teach yourself what you know to be correct. And if you don't know what you don't know, then it's really hard. You can hit a certain point where it's like, okay, now I know what to do. I just have to keep practicing until I level up, and then hit another part where I'm not sure how to make it better. Which reminds me, I really need to have another lesson because I definitely am overdue for that. Because now I'm coming across things that feel good, and other times I'm like, wait, is this what I'm supposed to do? Is it supposed to look like this? So I definitely need to have another lesson soon. So yeah, it's important to realize the difference between something you know but haven't figured out how to get your body to do yet versus actually needing to be told if something is correct or not. I feel like I do well teaching myself as long as I know what I'm supposed to be aiming for. So another thing I wanted to mention, which was kind of surprising to me, was the benefit of mental practice and time away from the instrument. So I know I said 15 to 20 minutes a day was helpful, especially in the beginning, but there are some days when I had injury flare-ups, either from violin or my other chronic pain issues. I've dealt with a lot of injury and chronic pain throughout my violin career, so I am very aware of the benefits of mental practicing and how to be productive even when you can't play. A lot more of what your body is doing to play an instrument is actually in your brain than you realize. You have to rewire the neurons to do the muscle memory. It's not just about muscle memory like you actually doing it, it's the neurons in your brain that have to learn those pathways to tell your muscles what to do. So sometimes when I'm practicing a really hard violin passage, I literally cannot visualize myself playing it correctly. I'm trying to visualizing and it's just not happening. I just keep making the same mistake over and over. And if you can't visualize it, if you cannot see it perfectly in your mind, there's no way your body is going to be able to do it because you learn it in your brain first. So sometimes it can be really helpful to just take some time away and just work through stuff in your mind, just to kind of see it perfectly, work through it in there slowly. That way, when you go back to the instrument, be surprised at how much easier it is. The last couple of weeks, I've been playing a lot more sporadically because I've had a lot of recording work on violin and I was worried I was going to come back rusty. But when I came back to the harp, suddenly some things that I had been struggling with actually felt better. So that was nice. And the only explanation I could really think of is that even though I wasn't physically practicing, I was still thinking about the harp and watching people play harp and just keeping my brain engaged with it. Perhaps the most important thing that I've learned through this process is what it feels like to really enjoy learning something musical again. If you know me, I have a million hobbies, and there is a reason for that. There was a time in my life where my entire self-worth and self-esteem was wrapped up in how good I was at the violin. And I realized how devastating it was when I wouldn't measure up to what I had hoped for. I realized I needed to find other things in my life that were important to me, that were part of my personality, and could add to who I was as a person. I have a tendency to be really intense even with my hobbies, so it can be really hard to still find something that is detached from achievement. Embroidery is great because I really don't care how good at it I am. I am kind of serious about it and trying to get better, but it doesn't really matter. It's not like I'm ever going to make any money from it. So there's no reason for me to feel stressed about it. But with music, it's hard because music is also my career. It's not only how I define myself as a person in many respects, it's my livelihood. So it has been very liberating for me to have an instrument that I could play just for the love of it. Amazingly liberating. Even though I have plans to use it for my work, there is no rush. There's not a huge bar I need to reach in order to do that. I can really just play it for the love of playing it. Because as much as I love playing violin, and I really do, I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but there's a lot of baggage there. The violin is not something I reach for when I've had a long day, because honestly, it might make it worse. I'm sorry. I know this sounds terrible. Please do not unsubscribe because you think I'm a horrible musician. I love music, but I've been playing the violin since I was 6, and for much of my life, I kind of wrapped up my entire identity as a person as being a good violinist. So, it makes it really hard to relax and enjoy without any fear of being bad, of messing up. It's really difficult. And of course, I have been working on kind of trying to get past that. My work on YouTube has been very helpful in that regard to kind of shed some of my perfectionism and just, enjoy what I love about music again. But having this harp and learning to play has been really eye-opening for me in many respects there. Honestly, I feel like this came at a really good time in my life too, because my identity has already been challenged so much in the last few years by becoming a mother and not being able to focus on my career so much. So having more things that I can reclaim for myself and really enjoy has been really, really wonderful. Anyway, if you're still watching this, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed all of my rambling about how much I love the harp. I feel so excited about it, and I can't wait to start using it in more of my covers, and especially this album that I'm working on. It's just like really reignited this fire for me to work on it. So yeah, thank you all so much as always for your support and for watching my videos. I know this was a little different than my usual kind of videos, but anyway, thank you all so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.